What's up, guys? It's me, your boy, LokiRagnarsson, the #1 most famous VTuber in the world. Don't look that up, or else I'm gonna have to... So you're probably gonna notice a bit of a red glow around me. I was gonna do something about it, but I thought it looked kinda cool, so I'm just gonna keep it for this video. So I have this video planned out for Arkham Knight, but 2 weeks or so before Starfield came out, I couldn't stand the wait anymore and became completely transfixed by it. I watched videos, I read articles, I consumed news about it in any way I could get it. See, I didn't play games like Oblivion or Fallout 3 or New Vegas until after they came out. I got Skyrim day one, but I played it and Fallout 4 both for a while before I got involved with their mods and communities, so it was largely a solitary experience. Which I guess makes sense, what with them being single-player games and all, but you know what I mean. So Starfield is the first Bethesda RPG that I started playing on day one, and have been following community activity from the start as well. It's been crazy watching that community slowly come out of hibernation. The script extender wasted no time with its release, MXR is back making weekly mod videos, and Oxhorn already has some lore videos out. I literally cannot wait to see how this game is going to explode when the new creation kit is released. For me, Starfield is pretty great already, but the party isn't even close to started until that happens. It's sort of a surreal experience not only playing the game in these early days, but actively following what the community is saying about it and doing with it. It's a first for me. Makes me feel kind of dumb for not paying closer attention during past Bethesda releases, but, you know. Weirdly, I also feel sort of left out. I'd love to be one of the people putting mods out there for Starfield, but that's just a little bit outside my skill set, even with the creation kit. Still, I can't help but want to participate, even if it's in a small way, so I figured I'd throw together my thoughts on some of the discourse surrounding the game and its features. Firstly, I don't think there's any problem at all with the way space travel in the game works. Grav jumps are fundamentally the exact same thing as, for example, jumping into hyperspace in a game like Elite Dangerous. As for traveling from planet to planet, I don't mind that it just plays a little scene of my ship traveling to its destination. It's more immersive than just a loading screen, and it's quick. It gets us to the actual gameplay quickly while still giving the sense that we're going somewhere in space. I'm not saying I don't like the way you go from planet to planet in other space games. Well, I actually kind of despise getting around with the frameshift drive in Elite. But in Star Citizen, I like being able to get up from my pilot seat and wander around my ship while I'm en route to my destination. It's cool, it's fun, it's
immersive.
Thank you, MXR. But it doesn't really have a place in an RPG like Starfield. Having to manually travel between planets within a system would take time away from the experience that was crafted for Starfield without really adding a meaningful experience to fill the gap. I don't mind the way takeoffs and landings work either. When Todd first said that thing about atmospheric flight and manual landing being not that important to the player, I was a little miffed. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, hey, I'm the player, and I take exception to that. But then after playing for a little bit, I was like, oh, I guess it wasn't that important to me after all. Look, I don't mean to brag or anything, but when it comes to flying games, I'm kind of good at it. My landings are so consistently solid that it might as well just be a cutscene anyway, so what difference does it make? As for not being able to fly around in atmosphere, I kind of came to like that too. With you being restricted to a particular flat spot that's a bit of a hike from your actual destination and then having to hoof it over, isn't it a little more like it is in the movies? In No Man's Sky and the other space games, you just plop right down in front of your POI, hop out, shoot the bad guys, hop in, and fly away. It's convenient, sure, but it's not exactly cinematic, if you know what I mean. Speaking of convenience, I can't understand where people are coming from when they complain about Starfield being a fast travel simulator. Yes, we have much more freedom regarding when we can and can't fast travel in Starfield than we did in previous Bethesda titles. But if you don't like it, then just don't do it. So manually walk your butt back to your spaceship, take off, and grav jump to your next destination. It's not like God Howard himself is holding you at gunpoint and making you fast travel everywhere instead of getting around the traditional way. As for my part, I appreciate the option. I have one character on which I'm trying to get around and complete and see everything more quickly, so I get a lot of use out of the ability to fast travel, for the most part, whenever I want. And I have another where I'm taking things more slowly, aiming for a more immersive experience, and I always use my ship to get around, using fast travel only every once in a while. If I had any gripes with the travel mechanics, it would be that landing cutscenes only play once per landing area. For the sake of convenience and saving time when I want to, I do appreciate that, but when I want to play more immersively, it would be nice if there was an option in the settings to enable landing scenes to always play. Like I said, I don't mind too much that landings aren't manual, but since they aren't, we're already losing a little bit of immersion. It would be nice to get some of that back with the option to enable the landing scenes. As for what I agree with people on, vehicles. I'm in complete agreement about that. I know Todd and Bethesda are really pleased with the new boost pack feature, and it's definitely a cool mechanic and it has an awesome verticality factor to gunplay and exploring specific locations. But in terms of getting from point A to point B on a planetary surface, it's really not that fun to keep tapping the spacebar over and over and over. I don't even think you get there any faster by doing it. I always hear people talk about wanting rovers for realistic planetary traversal, and on the other end of the realism spectrum are those who want hoverbikes and speeders. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. I want a more traditional looking motorcycle to ride around on. I just think that would be so awesome. You land on a planet near an outpost for a bounty mission, and out of your gunship or whatever you're flying, you roll out on the back of a motorcycle. I have in mind something similar to the Tumble Ranger that's still in concept for Star Citizen, and I have no doubt whatsoever that a single skilled modder could design and implement something similar in Starfield long before the large team of well-funded professional game developers at CIG finally add the Ranger to the persistent universe. My last big personal gripe is that the bounty hunting gameplay is woefully shallow. Since I knew ahead of time that Bounty Hunter was going to be a selectable background, I found myself hoping that there was going to be a bit more depth in that department this time around than there were in previous BGS titles. But it's pretty much the same. In fact, it might even be more simplistic. I could bring you in cold. Or I could bring you in cold. This time around, you take a bounty mission from a mission board, and then you go to where the bad guy is, kill him, and you complete the mission and get your creds right there on the spot. You don't even have to return to someone and tell them that the job is done. The credits just magically appear in your Galbank account as soon as the mark is dusted. I guess I was hoping that this time around there would be more involved bounty hunting gameplay, maybe capturing the mark alive, as the term bounty implies, and bringing him in. That would make it actual bounty hunting, and for once not just government-sanctioned murder. Although I do love me some government-sanctioned murder. I also really don't like the change they made to how equipment drops. Being able to take whatever weapons and armor your enemies had on them was always, in my opinion, one of the best parts of Bethesda RPGs, and one of the things that really set them apart from other RPGs where the drops were totally randomized. I'm sure they had a good reason for making this change, but whatever it was, I don't care. I do not like it. Those things and the excruciatingly slow walk pace on PC are my only true gripes, but oh well, nothing the modders can't fix. I don't want to sound melodramatic, but I really think Starfield is going to change everything. If we look back at space titles we've gotten in the past, for the most part they ask themselves at the conceptual stage, do I want to be a narrative-driven sci-fi RPG with a specific story, or a full-blown, fully immersive space sim with total freedom to explore and travel? Then, much like that little girl from the taco commercials, Bethesda asked, why can't we have both? I mean, if you think about it, Starfield is practically two games in one. On the one hand, you have your usual Bethesda RPG experience with quests and levels and skills and all this equipment you can collect, and on the other, you can pretty much play No Man's Sky, going from world to world, scanning stuff, building outposts, exploring, and just finding out what's out there. All in the same game, not to mention buying, finding, stealing, and even building your own fleet of spaceships. I think now that we have this, more developers who set out to make space games will try to find ways to blend handcrafted narrative experiences and full living worlds with vast universes, space sim mechanics, and the freedom to go wherever you want. We don't always have to just settle for one or the other anymore, and I think that's awesome. At some point, I'll be able to pry myself away from this game long enough to make content related to something else, but for now, I'll see you guys out there in the Starfield. Roll credits.